Matt, a few weeks ago, I went to play Forspoken, the new Square Enix game.
Okay.
We played like 4 hours of it, loads of it, and then out of nowhere they drop a demo during the Game Awards, which is rather annoying because we didn't know about it.
Fair enough. Did you play the demo or did you play something different then?
We played something completely different. We actually played the game. We played chapters 2, 3, 5, and then once we're done with 5, we went back to mess around in 4.
Okay.
So what I thought I'd do instead, because everyone can do the combat and everyone can play the game, we'd look at the first 4 hours worth of boss fights. So we've just got 20 minutes of boss fights, and we're going to watch them, and we're going to talk Forspoken. And that is pretty much it, Matt. Like, have you actually played the demo, or...?
No, so I've not got around to playing the demo yet, but I've seen all the trailers, I've covered all the news on Forspoken, and it's hard to get a grasp on sort of the vibe. Is it an action RPG? That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah, you know what? It's a little bit Nier Automata.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting comparison.
If you think about it, whereas, like, you just... Well, it's weird, because the first bit of the... So if you're playing the demo, right?
Okay.
You've got two skill sets. You've got the range stuff, but then you've got something a little bit more up close and personal.
Okay.
You get that from beating the boss that we cover for the last 10 minutes of this video, like at the main boss.
Okay.
Because the bosses are a little bit, I don't want to say Dark Soulsy, but like dodge patterns, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but a little bit more fast paced and a little bit more like. There seems to be way more movement options, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like it's parkour, right?
Okay.
So, it's parkour magic, basically.
Okay.
There's meant to be hundreds of spells as well. But look at the cutscenes; they look great. It's a shame as well that this is only in 1080 because you go to these events and you want to capture in 4K, but they do all the capture stuff.
Okay.
And you end up with 1080p footage.
But you were playing this on PS5, right? So
yes,
4K.
This is PS5.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I guess what I want to ask is, do you have a good time with it? Because it's one of those games that's gotten a bit of a mixed reception before any demo, right? Like the trailers and things have had a bit of a mixed vibe, but you've always been a bit positive and excited about it. Did it sort of live up to what you were hoping for?
Yeah, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. There's a lot of good stuff that the game's doing right, but there's also a load of I want to say the words that I'm actually going to use is scuff.
Okay.
It's a bit scuffy.
Okay.
It doesn't have that polish of like a AAA game.
Okay, so that's interesting, right? Because this is like one of the Final Fantasy teams doing this, right?
It's like it's AA, right?
Okay.
And just weird little things, right? Where obviously, so everyone knows about the cuff, right? The cuff is your magic. The cuff is your companion. You basically
is that the weird thing on her arm that we just saw? Okay.
But with where the spell's coming from, and it talks to you as well, and you have conversations with it.
Okay.
And early on in the game, you're basically chatting with it, but it's just a conversation where you're controlling the camera, and you're talking to your cuff.
Okay.
And there's no cinematography, there's no camera angles and stuff like that. So you're literally, it's almost like you're stuck in third person view behind the character. Well, you can rotate the camera, and then just talking to your cuff, and it just seems a little bit weird that's the kind of thing that you could do, I don't know, a Mass Effect thing where you're changing camera angles and stuff like that. It's a bit weird. And then there's a lot of moments where you stood still.
Okay.
It's weird, mate. It's weird.
So I'm seeing a lot of vulnerable and resistant and immune things popping up when you're doing these fights.
Yeah. So
is there an elemental thing to it?
No. So there probably is later on, actually.
Okay.
Right? But with this ability, with this skill set, I don't know how they explain it, but with this slot, I've got things like I can leech, I can bind them in place. It is kind of earthy, because because I'm throwing rocks and stuff like that.
Okay.
So there is an elemental kind of thing to it, but obviously this early in the game we've only got one. Like, it doesn't really come into play yet.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to bind the boss. I'm trying to lock it in place, basically, and that didn't work. So that's what the immune was.
Got it. Okay.
Sometimes it works on the bosses. Like, you'll see it on the main boss at the end of, I guess, Act 1 later on, that I can actually bind her in place.
Okay. So you're having to sort of combine your different abilities in that way. Like, do they all sort of sync together in a nice way?
Yeah, so you've got two sets. You've got attack and support. And you see me bringing up menus every so often. Later on, especially as I get more powers and more used to it. This is kind of early on in my kind of playthrough.
Okay.
This is also a labyrinth as well. This is almost kind of like a secret boss.
Oh, cool.
That you have to go down into this labyrinth and fight through little arenas to get to this point. But like, this is one of the main kind of path bosses.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of everything. We've got main path, we've got open world bosses, we've got kind of secret bosses. So just bosses, mate. Loads of bosses.
Yeah, it seems like your sort of fantasy fair. There was a big dragon, there was a big bear, and now you're fighting like a winged knight sort of
exactly.
thing.
But yeah, so basically you've got on the left hand side, on your L2 and your L1, you've got your support magic. That's the things where you're binding them in place, where you're leeching them, where later on you're dropping like proximity mines kind of thing. Obviously they're not mines, but they're like explosive lava.
Magic mines.
Yeah.
Mines, but magic.
Mines. Yeah. And then on your... So look, when I slow it down, that's all the spells I've got to choose from there now. So like Tendril is like an AoE attack that... fairly sure it does some leech damage as well on that.
Okay.
And then, obviously, your right trigger, your R2 and your R1, those are your attacks.
Okay.
So you can see them, like in the bottom right, you can actually see, so there's the triangle, right?
Okay.
Bottom right corner of the triangle is my attacks. So you've got like 3 different kinds of attacks you start with. You start with like almost like an Uzi, like a machine gun. You've got one that's... Yeah, like it's just fast paced. You hold it down, it's like kind of thing, and it doesn't do a lot of damage, but obviously lots of bullets. And in this, I'm actually aiming for his wings so that he can't fly. Right.
Oh, well, that's a cool little feature.
Yeah. So, and then the one I'm using now is the burst shot, which I'm fairly sure the burst shot is it's almost like the assault rifle.
Yeah.
Like more damage, and then if you hold it down, there's different variations of it as well. Right, and then in the left-hand corner of the triangle, you've got the support magic. And your support magic is basically your binds, your leeches, that kind of thing. And then at the tip of the triangle, you've got your ultimate ability, effectively.
Okay. And your support's got a cooldown, right? So I'm seeing that sort of like charge up again.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, this is where I find it a little bit finicky. That the changing abilities, like, you would have thought that you have to hold down L1 or R1 to change what you want to use, and it's a little bit finicky and it takes the flow out of the combat itself.
Okay,
but
yeah.
So that was the special ability then, like all the routes that came through.
Oh, nice.
But like, I just feel like it could be made a little bit easier. Like, if you just tap one, like, you can move abilities, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like queue up the next one. That's what you kind of want to do, rather than going into that menu every time you want to switch.
Yeah, because the menu's very sort of like, it's very like Ratchet and Clanky weapon wheelie, isn't it? But you can't just quickly switch between them without sort of slowing things down.
No, which is annoying.
Yeah, because at least like, most games that have that have at least like, yeah, you're right. You tap the button and you'll go between like the last 2 ones you used or something like that, or you'll cycle through them.
Exactly. And like, if you've got like 8 or so, you just want to be able to go bang bang. And if you want to use something specific, then you should be able to go into the menu. But if you I just like want to be able to cycle through like all 8 of them.
Yeah, but I mean? It seems like there is a pretty good flow to everything. Like you're constantly on the move.
It's fun, yeah, and the parkour's great, and the combat is just, once you get used to it, like it can take a little bit to get used to, because like for this boss in particular, like, this is like, you'll see when I get hit, I should not be fighting this boss, but the fact that I've got to this point without being hit, like, because I've been doing the dodging and I've been like using all the abilities and stuff like that, like it's a good example of how the combat can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I actually cut it there because I think I get hit twice, and then that's it. Get two tapped.
Yeah, I saw the damage you were doing to that bear. Like, it wasn't. Yeah, you were clearly sort of out leveled, right? But that's a cool thing, and this is an open world game, right? Like, it's.
It is. But this, so look at all those abilities there. Now I've got 7 abilities. This is the main first boss.
Okay.
So, if you've played the demo or playing the demo, you'll notice that you have 2 sets of abilities in the demo that I've only got 1 in this. Whereas once you defeat her, you get that second set of abilities.
And was that the ones you were saying were more like up close and personal, or?
So her moves that she's using, you get them.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So the swords, and then she's got like a spear made out of like fire. So like loads of variety. But I mean, I actually played the demo because it's weird, because I played the demo, and the demo is literally just, it's the weirdest demo ever. It's basically, here's the open world.
Yeah.
And that's really it. And then there are some, go to this waypoint, go to that waypoint. It's like, it doesn't really give you a chance to experience the game in the best light, I don't think.
Well, yeah. So in that case,
it's quite a tricky game.
If people have played the demo, do you not think they've gotten the full picture that you have gotten by playing it? Would you recommend people still keep an eye on this, even if they didn't enjoy the demo?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't enjoy the combat, like, I don't think it's drastically going to change too much.
Okay.
But the stuff that I actually quite like about this, like, some of it's, I think, going to wind a lot of people up. Like, her attitude is a little bit like, it's almost, I don't know how to put it in the politest way, but it's almost a little bit like,
is the dialogue
antagonistically, like,
is it a bit cringy?
Millennial? Yeah, and like it is massively cringy at times. So I don't know how much that's going to grate on people.
Yeah, because
I don't mind it too much, but it's like she always wants to say fuck, like, as if, like, I mean, when I fucking swear, like, I swear, but like, I don't do it every other sentence just to be edgy. It's almost a little bit edgelord, attempted edgelord.
Yeah,
but like, there's that super again, by the way, love it. But yeah, I don't mind that so much, but I can see it winding a lot of people up.
Well, that is always a weird one, isn't it? Because I swear every other sentence most of the time. I do find, but you don't realise you're doing it. But sometimes when you hear that written out, or like written in a script, right, it comes across as too much.
And it's super cheesy as well. Like, this is the second phase of the boss fight. So like Dark Souls, there are multiple phases and different move sets, and the scenery changes. But yeah, this is phase 2. Statues come to life. So now you got to fight her, and I think it's 6 soldiers.
Yeah, loads of stone soldiers.
Yeah, but like, I genuinely really did enjoy it. It's just a little bit like that could probably grate on people. Her demeanor.
Well, yeah, and how's the story from what you've seen so far then? Because obviously the scripts you said is, a little bit cringy, a little bit off-putting.
Like, not all of it. Some of it's like really well written. It's like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. It seems to just be the one-liners that are a little bit annoying.
Okay.
Like, and like, she's been flung into this world, and like, she's far too chill about it for my liking.
Yeah, complete fantasy world, right? And you're just like, yeah.
Mate, did you see that there? I dropped that proximity on the floor, and then I detonated it with the other one. So it just took like pretty much 3 of them out.
Yeah, you've absolutely nailed that.
But yeah, so I actually quite enjoyed the story. It's a little bit like medieval. It's almost a little bit like, I don't want to say like Quantum Leap, but you've just thrown somebody from the 2000s back into like the 1200s, that kind of thing.
Yeah, okay.
So she's got trainers, and they're like, oh my god, what is this sorcery? Like, but she's like, oh, I'd never give up my trainers. And I'm like, So like, you can see now she's actually like when you start the game, you start in what she was wearing.
Yes, yeah.
And then you get this cloak and you get a new outfit, but she's still wearing the trainers because she made a big deal about the trainers. But there were actually some really heartfelt moments.
I was going to say, because the trainers thing wasn't selling it for me, but I'm assuming if there's actually like better writing, heartfelt moments and stuff.
Mate, some of it's like really cool, and you can see her, because obviously she's thrown into this crazy world, and you can see her kind of start to feel for the people of this world and almost come to like them, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's hard to hear that she likes anyone because of her quips and that. So it's a weird one.
And with
this is the third phase, by the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, classic.
So she's blown up the church. Yeah, she's on fire. And but like it actually looks pretty good in terms of like cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
No, it does. I mean, again, 1080p, right? But it's an interesting art style that they've gone for. The magic has got like there's almost like a slight Doctor Strangey vibe to it, like in the same way that Ghostwire did it, which seems to be a thing that games are picking up on these days. It's not your traditional sort of like fancy visual style, I don't think, right? Like,
no, and like. They were saying, because they obviously did a small presentation before we went hands on, and they were saying there's hundreds of spells, and I'm like, hundreds? Wow! So if you think about it, each one of the sets. So we get the Tantasila one after this, which is the flame swords and that stuff like that. So each one of those, let's say that there's 3 styles of like combat in each.
Yeah.
And then like 8 different support spells. That means there's got to be like 10 different kind of big enemies that you get the skill sets from.
Yeah, I was thinking that, and obviously like there's gonna be a lot of bosses like this. You assume there's not gonna be like 2 or 3, right? So I mean, this is a long boss fight as well, like a really long boss fight.
I had to cut this down. I got it into 10 minutes. It was like a 25-minute boss fight.
So
like 25 minutes.
I guess so. This is an interesting question. If you died during this, do you start?
There are checkpoints.
Yeah, okay. Because that's the thing. Obviously, like pretty standard in games, and then Dark Souls went. No, you know what? No, you start from the beginning every time with boss fights, right?
Yeah.
And that sort of set a certain standard in a lot of games. But no, this is you respawn immediately. You start on the last checkpoint where you left off.
Yeah, this isn't trying to be Dark Souls.
No,
it's just easy for me to say Dark Souls because, like, I mean, you could probably go back to like Devil May Cry, to be honest. It's all about attack patterns, blocking, dodging, that kind of thing.
It does
no blocking in this, but
the Nier Automata comparison, it seems to be the one to me that that seems to be the closest from what you've said. Like, it's highly action oriented, right? But you've got a few bits. You've got the dodges. You've got a few iframes and bits like that. Like, but it's
because like you very rarely get hit by those fireballs unless you're an idiot. So it's straight into the dodges, and then this is obviously a new part of her third phase. Now she can just set the fire to the floor, which is
good, excellent.
This was my second attempt because I had no idea. Like, just the first time this happened, it caught me so off guard. Like, it's like, oh, the floor's on fire now. What do I do? Just jump? Like, and it takes you a while to realise that there's stuff you can jump on around the edge of the arena.
Okay.
But yeah, it is a long old boss fight. I didn't actually mind it, but there was a couple of guys sat either side of me that were on it for a long time.
As in, like, having to retry it and stuff like that.
Yeah. I went in and I had because it's almost it's Dark Souls-y in your health as well.
Okay.
Actually, no, that's a lie. They don't refill when you rest. You have to make them.
Oh, it's like proper limited health items.
Yes, but you can only have a certain amount.
Yeah.
So you can only have 7. But Matt, we've absolutely raced through that, and that's the end of the gameplay. So yeah, well, it isn't about like 20 seconds, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Demo doesn't really give it a good vibe. Can be quite tricky, can be fun. Parkour's pretty cool, combat's pretty cool, a little bit scuffy. Quite looking forward to seeing how the game kind of shapes up.
Are you more excited? Are you more excited about it than before you played it?
no, it kind of lived up to my expectations and what I expected, to be honest.
Perfect.
So, yeah, folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, folks. Goodbye.